Hello and welcome to For the Love of Truth. I'm called Adrian. Today we're going to be doing a products review of the Photonic Shield and the Photonic Square. Now, these are two products that are to do with helping you deal with electromagnetic frequency and electromagnetic radiation. Photonic reached out to me probably about 3 months ago now, I guess, maybe slightly longer, to discuss the product and ask if I would do a review on it. And I have not really dragged my heels on that, but I wanted to take a good long time to do the research and also to make sure that I knew about the benefits I was specifically feeling, and someone close to me that I shared one of the products with as well, to see and get their feedback on it as well before I brought this to you to share with you. So there's going to be a whole bunch of information I'm going to put in this video, and in no particular order. We'll be looking at their introductory video, we'll be examining their website, I'll be showing you the products, and then we're going to move into some of the research papers. I spoke to a researcher who has independently reviewed the product about the effects on blood, specifically from the viewpoint of mobile phones, 5G, Wi-Fi routers, the earbuds you can get, and that kind of thing. And there's also some research there to do with the effects on food and water. There is some documents I want to share with you to do with the findings of the European Parliament about the effects of 5G. Another research paper that's showing the damaging effects 5G towers are having on people's health when they live close by to them. And also we'll have a quick review of the Bion Institute, where they did some research, independent research about the product and the effects it had on people. It was a placebo-blind study. And came up with some very interesting things as well. So without further ado, let's dive in first of all and have a look at the introductory video, which if you've just come from YouTube, you'll have already seen, but it's only short, so we'll go from there. So this is the Photonic Global website, and these are the two products here. And it says, welcome to Photonic Shield. Thanks to our unique design and mix of science and nature, you can protect yourself from the negative effects of 5G, EMR, which is electromagnetic radiation, geopathic zones at home and on the go with Photonic Shield technology. Our vision. Our goal was to develop a multi-purpose, portable, protective device that could address the growing problem of man-made artificial radiation while also having the feature to restructure water and eliminate negative information in food. I'm just going to insert here that the way we transport water is very damaging to it. And if you look into how to restructure water, that's a whole another subject which is fascinating and very interesting and something that's well worth doing. And also food tends to have a lot of negative information in it, unless, of course, you're growing it yourself locally. A Photonic Shield device creates a healthy environment to live, work, and while traveling by minimizing the harmful effects of wireless radiation sources such as smartphones, smart meters, Wi-Fi routers, smart wearables, and geopathic stress zones. People can feel better, have more energy, and be more focused as a result of these changes, as intended by nature. And again, I'd go along with all of that. We were definitely designed to be out and working in nature and not sat in front of all of these screens, these devices, and be completely covered and operating in this soup of electromagnetic frequency and radiation. So how the technology works. The Photonic Shield device is a multi-layered structure that is constructed of specific metal alloys and dielectric materials. The Photonic Shield is a dependable converter of super high-frequency electromagnetic fields which transforms background radiation into frequencies that beneficially affect biological objects and humans. I presume biological objects would be things like your pets as well. The shape of the resonance structures and the characteristics of the Photonic Shield crystal materials are calculated and formed based on the interaction of the electromagnetic fields with biological objects, water structures, and circular polarization of right-hand rotation. And if you've done any digging into magnetism and biomagnetism, the right-hand or the clockwise rotation is very beneficial and anti-clockwise is not, from what I've read. So then to go on and talk about the Photonic Shield and then play the original thing. So let's have a quick look at the product itself. So let's quickly show you the packaging it arrived in because it is beautiful. Right, how cool is that? And that certainly struck me, was everything was very high quality, which is nice. And actually, while we are here, if I may, I will quickly show you. I keep this tucked in my pocket in my wallet. So there you have it. It's quite straightforward, really. You can put it in your pocket, your shirt pocket. You can sleep with it next to your bed. And then they have the smaller squares, which I've got one, but it's in my phone in the other room. And that sits on the back of the device, but we'll get to that in a second. So back to this. So let's jump in now to research. So you can jump to this. Again, I'll put links to their website. Heart rate variability, they have reports and the videos are done by a researcher. So let's have a quick look at square test with mobile phone. This is by Carolyn Mansfield, and in a little bit I'll be playing a video interview I did with her recently. She's a qualified naturopath and live blood microscopist for 22 years. She was asked to test photonic EMF protection squares and the shields for effectiveness against mobile phone radiation effects on red blood cells. So she's done both a video, and also she talks here about how she did this. So they were given a light breakfast, mobile phone used prior to the start of the testing. For an hour, there was room orientation to settle the test subject into the environment. At 9 o'clock, the first blood sample was taken. She's got photos and video of that. Then 20 minutes of phone call to ear without the photonic square. A second blood sample is then taken to see the results of that. Then a 20-minute mobile phone call to ear with the photonic square on it, and then a third blood sample taken, again with photos and video, and the test is complete. So the first sample shows healthy blood cells across the sample, red blood cells free-flowing, healthy cell membranes, and clean plasma, as it should. So these are the two photos of that. Second blood sample was taken after the test subject had completed a 20-minute mobile phone call placed to the ear. The photonic square was not used, and all of a sudden now the blood is coagulated, erythrocyte aggregation and rellose. You can see everything all clumped together. And that basically means that the blood is not going to flow properly, certainly to the extremities from what I've read and understand of this. So the third sample, test subject completes the 20-minute phone call placed to the ear, and the photonic square was on the back of the phone. And this showed improved blood picture across the sample, red blood cells flowing freely, red blood cells no longer coagulated, erythrocyte aggregation not present, and rellose not present. So it's basically gone back to normal, or in some of these cases from the reports I've been reading, it's gone back to better than normal. So that I found very, very interesting, because I've heard about the effects of things, but I've never actually seen the effects of things. So if you do a router, and again, there's videos you can watch on here, and I'd encourage you to do that. So the router, the same thing. It was into the room, this time using the Photonic Shield, which is the one I just showed you. And this had the sitting in front of the router for 20 minutes. Second sample was taken. The third sample was the Photonic Shield was in front of the router. So again, normal blood at the start. The second blood sample after being in front of the router, and you can see everything clumping together here, which is wrong. And this kind of thing here is just dreadful. And here. And then the third sample, it's gone back to being normal again, which is great. Now, AirPods, tablet, smartwatch. This is one that gave a particularly bad result. And again, I'm just giving you quick glances here. I'd encourage you to take your time to go through this and have a look at it. Watch the videos as well. So the same setup again, the same 3 tests, healthy cells, AirPods, sorry, the smartwatch rather. It's really clumped together here, as you can see. And the third blood sample, back to normal, or perhaps better than normal. So I thought that was really interesting. They've done one here on Bioresonance, or no, that one's not live yet, I don't think. Just have a quick look. No, it's not. The altered state of water was interesting. We'll come on to that in a little bit. And the 5G technology, the same kind of thing. So what we can do now is I'll play the video interview I did with Caroline Mansfield, the lady who did these reports and the videos, and she's a lovely woman, and we had a really interesting talk about that. And then at the end, let's come back and talk a little bit more about the next part, which is the Bion Institute and the review they did. So thank you for taking the time once again to join me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's I wanted to have a chat with you about the photonic card and the square, because you're a researcher, and I watched a video of yours recently, and that was really interesting. I wonder if we could go through the same sort of information again, please.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So should I just share the screen and talk you through it? Or?
That would be really good. Thank you. Yeah.
Here we go.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I recently, over the last couple of months, I should say, I've been doing research for a company called Photonic. They approached me to really analyze how their cards affect the blood. Because as a naturopath and live blood microscopist, I've been looking at blood for over 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to look at how blood is affected by, diet, nutrition, and water and supplements, but never really looked at anything that's, in the EMF field.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really intrigued by this when they asked me. So we devised some test structures to look at iPhones, iPads, routers, earbuds, and what else? Smartwatches. So it's been a very interesting journey, to be honest, and I'd love to share this with you.
Mm.
So, as I said, we're looking at these different devices, and we were using the Photonic Square and the Photonic Shield, which is an EMF protection card, but not only protects you, it sort of it smooths out the biofield, so it works in harmony with your body's own electrical field. And this is what we discovered when we did the testing. So as a live blood microscopist, what we do is we take a pinprick of blood, it's a peripheral blood sample, and we put that blood under the microscope, and we're able to analyze blood. And we can look at the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the plasma. And through that, we get an idea of, how the body is affected by diet and nutrition. And now we know through EMS as well. Mm-hmm. So the first test we did was with an iPhone. And the test structure was always the same for every single test we did. So the test subject would arrive, and they'd have an hour's orientation in a room without any EMS. So everything was settled, and then we would take their blood. So the first test we did was with the iPhone. We did, the client sat for an hour, and we tested their blood. And you can see when we're looking at red blood cells, we want them to be roughly the same shape and size, and we want them to be moving and flowing. And we don't want them to be sort of attracted to each other. The outside of a red blood cell has a net negative charge, and this helps the blood flow so they don't sort of stick and become attracted to each other. And this is a healthy blood sample that we'd want to see. And again, we just took a few pictures. Then I asked the client to go on her mobile phone for 20 minutes only. And I asked her to put the phone up to her ear. And after 20 minutes, again, we took her peripheral blood sample. And this is what her blood looked like after that 20-minute call. And I was quite astounded because I hadn't realized quite how these EMFs can affect our body. Mm-hmm. We've all seen the pictures of, babies and young children, how the heat, the radiation goes into their head. Mm-hmm. And we know the connection between phone use in brain cancers, for example. This is well documented. But no one's really looked at the blood in such a way.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that red blood cells, it only takes 1 minute for a red blood cell to circulate around the body. So if a red blood cell is affected, in any way where it's affecting the membrane or the outside of the red blood cell, it's going to be traveling around the body and, causing problems as well. But here we can see what's happened is these EMFs have caused the red blood cells to what we call erythrocyte aggregation to really clump together. And, this over a long period of time, this is when we're on our phones, some people get very agitated if they're on a long call, they can feel that, it's affecting them. And it can just, make them feel quite agitated and not think clearly. So I asked the lady to go back on her phone, but to use the Photonic Square to put it behind the phone case, which she did for another 20 minutes. And after that call, we redid her blood. And you can see that now her blood was back to basically what it was, at the baseline level.
Mm.
So I was quite astounded by that because it's after quite a short period of time, really. But the Photonic Square had managed to really smooth out that biofield and all that disruption that was caused by the phone and protect her blood.
Mm.
And so her blood would be circulating. The next test we did was on a router.
Mm-hmm.
And, these routers are in people's lounges. And as you said earlier, they're also in people's bedrooms.
Yep.
And, if we're sitting in front of a router all evening, a lot of people don't realize how this could be affecting our health, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you. So the client arrived, same procedure, room orientation phase for an hour. Then we take the blood, and you can see that this client's blood is, it's fairly good. It's not too much of traction and healthy red blood cells. Then I asked the client to go on his router, or sorry, not go on his router, sit in front of the router
Mm-hmm.
for 20 minutes, roughly about a foot and a half, 2 feet away from the router,
Mm-hmm.
which he did. And after 20 minutes, you can see how his blood changed.
Mm.
So this is, not great. And you can see we had huge clumps of erythrocyte aggregation here with this client. Very badly affected. And I'll just quickly show you the video as well, so
Mm-hmm.
you can see. I did take videos. You can see it's clumping together in patches across the sample, which was quite shocking. So I asked the client to, again, sit in front of the router for 20 minutes, but to put the photonic shield in his pocket, which he did. And then we retook the blood, and the blood had not only gone back to, its healthy state, but it had actually improved beyond baseline. And I was really blown away by those results, because I could see that the photonic shield not only, blocks EMFs, but it actually helps the blood. It really does benefit. Yeah, it's just quite amazing. And the next test we did was on an iPad. And again, same process. The lady sat in the orientation phase for an hour. We took her blood. This is her baseline. Oops. And then we asked her to go on her iPad for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, this was her blood. Now, there was a lot of stacking together of the red blood cells. It's what we call rouleau. And a lot of people can get this state of blood if they're dehydrated, or maybe they've reacted to a food, or they're particularly stressed. But it's very unusual to see it throughout the whole sample, which is what we did. And again, red blood cells' job is to deliver oxygen and nutrients around the body. and take away waste products. And anything that's inhibiting, the flow of blood is going to have a knock-on effect on health. So I asked her to go back on her iPad, but to put the photonic square in front of the iPad. And after 20 minutes, we can see that this is her blood. And again, her blood improved beyond baseline. And then finally, I just want to share with you the iWatch or the smartwatch that a lot of people are using for their health, to track their steps or to monitor their heart rate in the gym. So they think they're using them because it's a health benefit for them. But again, this is very sneaky, because this is the client's baseline blood after 1 hour orientation. Very good looking blood. And then I asked her to go on her smartwatch. And I was so surprised at her blood. It was very highly coagulated. And I think, as you say, it's because there's this contact with the device on your skin. And this is probably, one of the worst outcomes I had seen.
Well, how can the blood pump like that?
Well, it won't. It's going to be affected.
Yeah.
It's going to struggle. I mean, you can still see some ones that are, floating around, but that coagulation is affected gradually, you could say, because it's not got, an underlying cause as such, biologically, that it will start dispersing gradually by itself, potentially. But it could take some time. And I think this is why, people, when they're sitting in front of computers and, they're on their phone a lot, they get all this brain fog, they get headaches, they feel agitated. And if they're on their devices at nighttime, they're not going to be sleeping as well, afterwards. And I think this is all part of it. So I asked the client to use the iWatch again and just interact with it for another 20 minutes, but this time to put the photonic shield in her pocket. And boom, the blood just went back to baseline again, and I would say improved beyond baseline. So it's quite a common theme that was happening here. So it's just, it's incredible. As I said, I've seen over the years how people's blood are affected by food and diet and nutrition and water, but I've never really looked at EMF protection devices and how our blood is affected by EMFs. So yeah, it's quite astounding. And I just think over the years, there's been this uptick with EMFs wherever we go, in office buildings, wherever we go into shops and supermarkets. We can't get away from this Wi-Fi. So
what about the electromagnetic fields coming off electric cars, because you're surrounded by an enormous amount there?
Yes, well, I have actually seen similar tests done with live blood analysis in electric cars. And the same effect happens. So you're driving along in an electric car and, it's affecting you. There's no doubt about that as well. So I think, technology, needs to keep up. We need to keep up with this technology, I should say, and to be looking at protection now is so, so important, because this isn't going to go away. It's part of our life for a lot of people. And
Okay. I mean, they're interesting devices because they're completely passive. They don't have a power source per se. There's no battery or anything. There's nothing to recharge. You just have them on the device or carry them in your pocket, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. They sort of give off a subtle energy field just by themselves. And they do their work. And, people often say, well, how can that be? But I always say, well, you think of a microchip, how tiny that is. And we all just know that has an ability to do amazing things. So, also the protection technology has the ability to do just as amazing things as well.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting as well. I did some videos on cymatics and on bioresonance, and it all ties into the same stuff, that if you have the right frequency, everything will normalize itself.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We have a biofield around us that goes out, 6 feet from our body. We're all emitting energy,
Yeah.
and the human body has a specific energy, and it resonates also with the earth. When we have that disconnect from the earth,
Yeah.
it also sort of causes the blood to be affected as well.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking earlier about how important it is for grounding. Just going bare
Yeah.
feet on the ground can
Yeah.
really help to charge up the cells
Yeah.
and make it flow a lot better.
Yeah.
We're so disconnected with our rubber souls and our inner city living that
Exactly.
yeah. And also I think, when we're living, even if we choose not to have Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi will come in from our neighbors. We know that. We pick it up on our phones, and if you're in an apartment block, you could pick up 5 or 10 different Wi-Fi choices if you could log into them all. So
Yeah.
they go through walls. So we are bombarded, and it's so, so important now to look at areas or ways that we can protect ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what fascinated me with this, was that you, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere or you're in a Faraday cage, you've got no choice but to be exposed to this. So if you could carry a passive card, it's the same size as a credit card, with you, either in a lanyard or in your pocket, you are effectively changing the game health wise. And I've noticed, for me, I sleep so much better. And I was surprised, because I've always slept well anyway, but I sleep longer. It's more restful. And I was saying before that I'm in front of the screens quite a lot, unless I'm out getting my hands dirty like now. But it's I don't get the same kind of eye tiredness and the blurry vision I was getting a lot. And I put that down to just having that, because it's the only thing I've changed recently.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Mm.
And also what you say about sleep, because sleep is the only time the body regenerates and repairs.
Yep.
So, a lot of the time people are affected by these EMFs
Yeah.
from our devices, and also the blue light. We have to
Yeah.
bring that into it.
Oh,
So, not getting that deep REM sleep, and waking up tired from that, and
yeah.
sleep is so important for many health conditions.
Yeah.
But if our blood's inhibited and it's not delivering oxygen and nutrients, we know that hypoxia, or lack of oxygen, it can also be implicated with cancer.
Yeah.
And we know there's a lot of there's so many studies out there about EMF radiation being carcinogenic. And I do feel it's potentially linked to this blood clotting that happens. So we're not delivering oxygen. And if we're this cumulative effect, if it carries on every day, and we're just not really paying attention to our the potential of the EMFs affecting our blood in this way, then it could lead on to problems, or at least contribute towards problems that we may have.
I think it could have a cumulative effect, and no one has been able to, or has taken it upon themselves to do a long-term study of this. And what happens if you wear that smartwatch 24/7? What happens if you're on your device 10, 12, 15 hours? You're in your electric car, you're in front of your smart TV, you're passing by all the stuff that's coming off. Yeah, it is completely around us. So anything that's effective, which this clearly is of tremendous benefit and tremendous use.
Yeah, we just can't get away from it. Going to the supermarket, going to office buildings. And as I said, even walking along the street now, we've got the cell towers everywhere, and also street lights emit EMFs. And I've taken readings of them, and some of them are off the scale. So it's so important. We think we're going to go walk our dog and get some fresh air and get out of our home to get away from the Wi-Fi, and actually it's out on the streets now as well. So unless we're going to go and stand in the middle of a forest, which I love doing anyway, we can't really get away from it that easily. So anything that's going to help us and protect us is so important.
Wonderful. Well, thank you once again.
No, thank you.
If you've not had a look at the effects of wireless radiation, electromagnetic frequencies radiation on the human organism, there's a very good book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. And I, probably about 3 years ago now, I think it was, did a summary that I found online, and I think I may have read that out, but I'll point you towards that. And that talks about the harmful effects that electromagnetic frequencies and radiation have on people, things like not sleeping right, not healing from wounds, very sensitive skin. And if you find someone or know someone that is electro hypersensitive, they have an absolutely awful time living in today's world with the way it's gone with the electrification of everything. And these devices here certainly seem to help with that. So I'll put a link to that. It's one worth having a look at if you're interested in the whole subject of that and what kind of things it does. And a lot of the links to the, not the plagues, what am I looking for? The word there, the big outbreaks of flu and how they were tied to electrification events. That's very interesting as well. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about this as well is because I've been trying to figure out ways of protecting myself from electromagnetic frequencies and radiation when I'm out and about. It's all very well at the house. I can do plenty of earthing, grounding, and there's other things you can do. But it's when you're out doing stuff. How do you protect yourself from that? How do you cope when you're around all sorts of stuff? Now, a lot of people think it's not an issue, but it really is. And it is having an impact on us, and we're not functioning as we should do. And that's why I think that these particular devices, I say devices because they're not, they're passive, but they work on bioresonance, which is really interesting, something I'm fascinated by. Now, there is a research document, which I'll put a link to, which is to do with, it was the European Parliament, and it was their report on 5G, suggesting that something was amiss there. And we can also look now at the Bion Institute. Right, so what I'd like to do is just quickly read this abstract, which is the published report validating alleged protective effects of photonic shield card on human organism during the exposure to 5G microwave radiation. The company Photonic Shield Limited requested scientific validation of their product Photonic Shield, which allegedly protects the user from 5G microwave radiation. Validation was done via testing on human organisms following clinical research conditions. For testing, volunteer test subjects were exposed to 5G radiation while carrying a photonic shield card in their pocket, working, verum, or sham working, sham. The testing showed significant overall statistical differences, i.e. differences in p-value and Cohen's d, between the two test situations, where the test subjects were exposed to the same procedure and the same dose of 5G microwave radiation in both cases throughout the testing. Since the testing showed significant differences in the presumably shielded and unshielded situation, we conclude that the card has an effect on the human organism that compensates, at least to some extent, for the biological effects of 5G microwave radiation. I'd encourage you, if you're interested, to have a full read of that, which goes through in details the testing procedures. It's got photographs, how they put it together, how they tested it, etc., and gets to the conclusion at the end. So that's very interesting in itself. So moving on now, let's have a look at a couple of reviews on their website. I believe these are an essential tool for any individual or clinic, and I use 2 of my Photonic Shield cards every day to clear energy blockages in my body as a result of my studies on meridians and how the energy may accumulate in specific areas of the body. Miss Clardy. With its array of features including energy cleaning, water and food restructuring, and EMF protection, the Photonic Shield is comparable to a Swiss Army knife. Fantastic devices that are affordable for everyone. Mrs. Hardy. The toothache I was experiencing on the side of my jaw that I directly applied the Photonic Shield began to subside after 10 minutes. I've also used it to treat a migraine headache by placing it directly on the forehead. It's a fantastic product. When the Photonic Shield EMF protection device is on my body, I can literally feel my energy change and a feeling of calmness. Sandra. I've had electrosensitivity for a very long time, and I can't hold a phone for more than 3 minutes before my hand and arm would start to burn and tingle. Now that I have a Photonic Square attached to the back of my phone, I can declare that I can use it without restrictions, Wayne. And there are several more on that. So what I'd like to do now is play an interview with a young woman that I asked to examine and evaluate the Photonic Shield for her own use. Now, you may recognize her. She was also in the video I did a while back about the Biometis Trinity device, and she uses that all the time, every day now as well. So let's have a look at that, and then we'll come back and I'll conclude the video with talking a little bit about my experiences with it and why I think it's a good idea. Charlie, thanks so much for joining me this evening. I know you're busy at work. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. I sent you a photonics card probably about a month back now.
6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks, yeah, to really see what it would do for you. We didn't really talk much about it other than I said it can help mitigate the effects of EMF and EMR and things like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi, that kind of thing, which I know you're particularly exposed to up in the apartments that you live in or the flat you live in. So really what I'd like to do is say, how are you getting on with it? What do you think of it? What it's done for you, if anything, so that we can share this with some other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a bit of background about me, just in case people didn't see our previous biomed interview we did. So I have suspected endometriosis. I'm usually in pain every day. Also comes with horrific periods with contractions, etc., which I normally get through with codeine, which is great fun. But it's not just the painful periods, it's pain throughout your body, it's fatigue, it's all sorts of things. This usually feels like there's a vice in my abdomen, which kind of feels like nothing's really flowing or digesting as it should be. And obviously that's a huge drain physically and emotionally, and I don't get much sleep. So I already use my biomed, which I do love, and that has improved things for me. But when you sent me the photonics card, as soon as I put it on, I had like instant relief in my stomach. I actually started using it on my period, on like the first day of my period. And for those first few days, I didn't have to take any painkillers, which is rare for me. Normally they last 10 days and I take painkillers for the whole 10 days. Not codeine all the time, but painkillers nonetheless. For that day, I just kind of, it was like the weight had been lifted off my stomach. It kind of felt like things were flowing more, if that makes any sense. And I didn't take any painkillers up until my main pain days that I got my period, where I did take codeine, but a lot less than I normally would over the course of the day. So straight away, impressed, thoroughly. First 2 days, a lot less painkillers involved, and most importantly, sleep. So because I wasn't in pain, which was a really weird sensation in itself to not be, it made me realize how high level my pain had been for so long, because when it went away, I was really tired. And I slept for like 12, 15 hours a night instead of my usual 6.
Yeah.
And I could have slept longer as well. It just like, my body just kind of went, oh, sleep, fantastic, and just shoved loads of it on me, which was great. Mental health, just far better, especially on my periods. Obviously, it's quite demoralizing to be in pain 24/7, and to actually get breaks from it, just much happier. I've been on walks on my period, which is not a thing that would have happened before as well. And energy levels, I've been able to go on walks almost daily now since I've been using it. And I'm back to doing my daily yoga. I'm back to doing all the things that I'd stopped doing because I was in such a bad pain stint. And they do come and go still, but I haven't taken painkillers maybe 3 weeks now at all.
Wow.
Yeah, which is unbelievable.
And when you say using the device, I presume you're just carrying it with you, aren't you? Because it's just a card, isn't it?
Yeah, so I actually have it with my biomed device in here.
Yeah.
Bit of a tight squeeze. I can try and get them out. So I just have them back to back in there. I just have it on me all the time, and when I go to sleep, it's next to me just because I don't want to roll on it.
Have you tried putting it on the back of the device so that it's between you and the antenna? I don't know whether that would make a difference. I'm just curious if it would.
No, so I always had that to my skin because I
Yeah.
thought that was obviously the way to use it. So I had that on the front.
Well, absolutely, but I'm just curious. You can try the other one and see if it makes any difference. I don't know if it will or not.
Yeah, no, I'll try it. We'll see. It's already made such a big difference. I mean, my next period has actually just started today. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't get any warning about it. Normally, for 3 days beforehand, I'd get like pre-cramps, so I'd get pretend period pains. And I didn't get any of that. It was actually just a surprise. Caught me off guard. It just arrived.
Oh, wow.
I've taken no painkillers today. I've been on a big 50-minute walk up a mountain, which is why I'm a bit red still. I've done my yoga. I've got enough energy to do Pilates as well later if I want to. And so far, I'm mentally just better feeling about my period. Now, I mean, it doesn't take away all of my pain. I was in a bit of a pain stint for the last week. Nothing to do with period, just when I have a flare up. But I didn't take any painkillers, so it does make a difference. And to be honest, nothing 100% takes away the pain of a flare-up anyway, not even codeine sometimes. So,
Mhm.
but it did mean that I didn't have to punish my body with all the toxic chemicals that are in the painkillers, and I was able to still eat. I still had good mental health, and I was still getting a lot of sleep, which is the
Okay.
main one for me.
So is it affecting your digestion at all, do you think, or not?
I think so. It just, whenever I eat, I used to have a lot of intolerances that I've been slowly working over the years. I do take a lot of supplements. You know, from being on your channel, I take
Yeah.
magnesium, boron, I drink filtered water, all of those things.
Yeah. Distilled water.
Sorry, distilled water. You're correct. Big distilled water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my digestion's a lot better. I had some cheese the other day. I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But no problems from that. No digestive issues, no gas or anything.
Yeah.
I've just started doing 16-hour fasts, which I only feel able to do because I feel like my foods are getting utilized properly. We've spoken before. I used to get hypos, where
Yeah.
if I didn't eat regularly, I'd shake, my blood sugar would tank, it'd be up and down, and then you just
Yeah.
have to stuff something really sweet in your face to balance it.
Yeah.
I've been doing these fasts, not had a single hypo,
Yeah.
which again, really happy to not have.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, everything just feels, I feel less hungry, like I'm using more of the food I'm actually putting in, whereas previously, especially around my period, you just eat all day. There's just no, you just don't feel satiated,
Yeah.
you're just hungry.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was getting enough energy from my food.
Mhm.
And yeah, very happy with it, to be honest.
Good.
I know it's not just it in itself, but it's everything that I do.
Well,
But
I
it
think,
did a
Charlotte,
big
what it
jump.
is, everything acts, and there's a big cumulative effect. So 1 and 1 doesn't necessarily equals 2. It can equal a lot more than 2 because things start to compound.
No,
Yeah.
it's definitely, I do feel like it's made a big difference though. I actually went out on a walk without these two
Yeah.
the other day. I forgot them, and I noticed the difference in like how much energy I had.
Yeah.
I had a lot of abdomen pain. I came back and just put them straight back on again.
Yeah.
But the card, the biggest thing, there's been many things it's helped with, but the
Mhm.
biggest thing was just taking that edge of pain off so I could sleep.
Mhm.
And obviously then the compounding effects of sleeping and then digestion, and yeah.
Yeah. Have you
It's
started putting
amazing.
it next to your water for 5 minutes before you drink it as well, in front of that big jug?
Yeah, so I have a big 2 litre jug of water.
Yeah.
Try and drink 2 of those a day. So when I have it, I put it next to it when I'm at work.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting the benefit, and the water's getting the benefit.
Yeah. It only needs
Yeah,
to be there for 5 minutes, so you could do that big glass storage jar you have once a day as well.
yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say to people, or are you good with that?
No, I think I just threw a lot of information at you
That's cool.
in one
All right.
space. I think obviously I'm hoping this will kind of give people the push to try it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't have endometriosis, even if you're just wanting to elevate your health and things, but
Yeah.
for me, it's an ongoing learning cycle. It's an ongoing battle of trying
Yeah.
to find what combination of things makes my life happy and livable. And this has definitely had a big effect on it. So
Good.
if you're hesitant about trying it, I'd recommend it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things, Charlotte, is that we're in this kind of swimming in a sea of electromagnetic frequency and radiation. There's no way out of it unless you can get really far out into the woods and out into nature. You know, there's a chance then. But the idea that you could carry something with you that's passive,
Yeah.
because it's not powered by anything, it's passive, that is changing the way these emissions, these frequencies affect your body into a more positive thing, which you haven't seen the video yet about the blood work, which I'll send you when I finish doing all the edits and everything, and the report from the Bion Institute as well, because they make very interesting reading. That you have this passive, looks like a credit card, really, you carry with you, and it just allows you to crack on with your life. I've noticed, as an example with me, my sleep is so much better than it was, and I've always been a reasonable sleeper, but I can get 8-10 hours some nights now, which was unheard of with me because I was always 6 or 7, and that was it, if that. So I feel so much better from that as well.
Yeah. And it's just, yeah, it's such a small thing. You wouldn't even notice it if you just had it in your wallet. Like obviously mine's in my biomed, so it's kind of a little bit bulky, I have it around my neck, but you could just have it on you. And it does, I mean, my job is, I work in an office, so I'm surrounded by Wi-Fi and all of that all day. And I come home and I live in a block of flats, so I'm surrounded by Wi-Fi all night as well.
Yeah.
Because I can turn mine off, but the neighbors don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, just just the quality of sleep. It's been
So what you
fantastic.
could do as well, you know, for the summer, get yourself a small waterproof phone pouch. I want to kind of to zip things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can pop it in that and you can put it inside your wetsuit when you go paddleboarding.
I have one of those actually for my phone.
Yeah, well, there you go. Put it in with your phone.
Ah, clever. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that yet. It's
Yeah.
too cold.
Yeah. Well, you know me, I'm always thinking miles ahead.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's thank you for that. Don't go away though, because we'll continue talking. I'll just end the recording bit now. I thought that was really interesting as well. My own personal experience with this, within a day, I noticed that mental clarity was getting better again. I do find that if I'm in front of these devices a lot, that I do find I'm not quite as sparkly, if that makes sense. That kind of feeling of clarity and aliveness that I used to have when I was younger, that had kind of evaporated, and that's certainly come back. That's also one of the reasons, by the way, I'm making less content right now, is because I'm spending more time away in reality rather than in this fictional realm. And I'd encourage you to do more of the same thing as well, because the real information, the real joy, the passion, the excitement, everything is out there in life. It isn't here on these screens. It really isn't. So I had the increase in mental clarity. My energy levels overall picked up. But the biggest one for me was the improvement in the quality of my sleep. For a long time now, I've been sleeping less than I used to. And I was down probably 6, 7 hours, sometimes 5 and 6, and not feeling particularly refreshed, but I was just awake. And I've noticed that using the card, I mean, like last night, I had 9.5 hours. You know, earlier in the week, I was getting regularly 8 to 8.5 hours. There have been some times where I've slept 10 or 11 hours, which I didn't used to do until I was young. It's absolutely amazing. And I feel so vibrant and full of energy and clear again. It's really nice. And I would put that down largely to that device, because that's the only thing I've changed recently. So that's it really in a nutshell. There is an affiliate link if you'd like to buy one of these units. It'll cost you no more than if you bought direct from them, but it does support me and it does support the channel. And if you are an influencer and you'd like to talk to them about becoming an affiliate, if you reach out to me, I said V then, an affiliate, not an affiliate. If you want to become an affiliate, reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with the guy that owns the company, and you can speak direct with him about that as well if you'd like that. So I hope this information was useful. I hope it provides you with the tools or another tool that you can use to protect yourself while you're out and about. And do, by the way, on the website, have a look at the effect it has on water and how you structure water with it. And there's also talk about how it affects food. So I generally put it in front of my bottle of water before we drink any, and I'll have it out on the worktop when I'm preparing food as well. So with that in mind, just to remind you, as always, that you are amazing and you're the reason I'm doing this. And I will speak to you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.